out how it looks on here. Hello.
Howdy, y'all.
We have had a nightmare trying to make a new little cozy set. Okay, it looks all right, and the sound is working.
All these creative tasks we've given to ourselves. It's terrible.
I know.
We thought this would be all fun and games. That's what we signed up for.
Yeah. Just the shadows are bothering me, but
it is what it is.
It's fine.
Everything has shadows.
Yeah. All right.
Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth?
We've got one Prue Lawrence saying, cute decorations.
Thank you. I tried really hard.
Yeah, I think it's looking good.
It's kind of a 7 out of 10 result. I know. I thought that was nice. Yeah. What is it that causes shadows? Not to debunk the
light and something getting in front of the light.
So then isn't it that being too bright?
Well, it's not just that it's too bright, but normally with like a 3-point light, you'll have something getting a backlight as well, or you'll have your background independently illuminated so that the shadows.
So how's that a 3-point light? Wouldn't that be 4?
I mean,
there's
a lot of lights out there. You can go. I want 7-point lighting at all times.
Seriously. I don't want a single pore on my face to be visible.
I don't want to be visible at all. I want to be like the shining face of God, just like
AI. Have a million people sent you that, the AI generated images, and there's like the guy that does mushrooms. I'm like, everyone keeps sending it to me personally and being like, this made me think of Tanner. I'm like, send it to him. Well, we are currently burning our Self on the Shelf candle, which Tanner gave me for Christmas.
The very definition of Hygge.
Hygge, yeah. It's banana nut bread and coconut, and it's a lead-free wick, and it's soy wax. And for every candle they sell, they plant a tree in an area that supports orcas. So if you want a good candle.
If you want to join the war against yachts to support the orca side, just know that this is passively going to enforce the orca force.
Yeah, Zelf on the Shelf is arming the orcas in the fight against the yachts. So just know what you support.
Do we have any Scandinavians in the chat who can tell us the proper pronunciation of the word? I suppose I could Google it.
Yeah, we've been doing it. No, but we do have someone from New Zealand, which is fun.
New Zealand?
Oh, my eyesight is like just slightly not good enough to read those comments very well.
I doom scrolled for just too many hours.
Me too.
Yesterday, and now I
Me
can't
yesterday
see
and
7
today.
feet past.
You know when you doom scroll for so long that everything sounds boring, and so then you're like, I really want to do something else. And I tried just like sitting doing nothing for 10 minutes. And then I'm like, all right, I'm bored. I
suppose I wasn't actually doom scrolling. I was like searching, which is the whole dopamine.
What were you searching?
Depop mostly.
Okay.
I'm doing radical pruning.
Radical.
Yep, pruning. It's like if I haven't worn a piece of clothing in over a year, it's
hell yeah.
If everything just.
You can charge more in Depop as well. So relatable. Scrolling and losing interest in everything. Yep. Can't be good.
Tony O'Donnell, you have this sweater? That's so fun.
Where's it from?
I got mine from Savers.
It's not like a H&M.
It might be.
It is H&M, I guess.
Nice.
Crazy.
I actually do, like on Depop, I sometimes will look for H&M stuff, or if I see one, I'm like, I know it's something that will probably fit me, which is oftentimes a struggle. This reminds me of The Whale, which is why I got it.
It does, yeah. I hate that all the girl stuff at H&M is shit quality. It's just the worst. But yeah, it's pronounced many ways apparently. I think I thought for reals I thought it was Hygge.
I'm sure. The nice thing about language is that it can be whatever we want it to be. Yeah. And that is literally true.
Grandma
just like science.
Meant something different in the 80s. Who's watched our tennis shoes video? People have been liking that one.
Yep.
Not as much as I thought, but
the
people who watch it have loved it.
The patrons.
We called this the Hygge stream because we have this game called the Hygge game, which is basically like a We're Not Really Strangers situation. But I thought it was quite fun because it has questions that like we could answer and also you guys could answer in the chat. So for example, have you ever declined someone's friend request on Facebook? Why? That's a That's an interesting question.
That's an old question.
Yeah, I know. Like, when was this game
That's
made?
like, have you ever received a telegram and then thought, I ought
Have you
not...
ever faxed a lover?
And you just replied to them, stop. Telegram joke?
I actually did buy this game for my boomer mum, but we played it one time, and there was a question on what's one thing we can all learn from children, and she just walked out the room and didn't want to play the game anymore. So now it's mine.
I was going to say,
ours.
I can't even imagine trying to explain a game to botters to try to like get
This
a game
is just
going.
answer a question though, and the question was, what's one thing we can all learn from children? Couldn't do it. Doesn't like them. Not a child fan. Yeah. So good.
So how was your childhood?
So good. Today I went down the Gypsy Rose rabbit hole.
Oh yeah,
out. I didn't know anything about her, but I'm like devastated that she went to prison for that.
Yeah, I can't. It's great that she didn't stay in there, huh?
Yeah, and apparently she said in an interview that like she actually thought prison was good for her. It sounded like she maybe was in kind of a nice one, because it allowed her to not be dependent on like carers and all these people in her regular life. And she also, it seemed like, did like a lot of learning while in there. But like 8 years, I can't fathom how our justice system can think that was fair when like every system in society had failed her. Like she had no legal recourse because her mum had power of attorney over her healthcare and all that stuff. For anyone who doesn't know, I only found this out recently, but Gypsy Rose is a girl who was raised her whole life by her mum, and her mum who had, what is it? How do you pronounce
Munchausen's
it? Munchausen's by proxy. So basically like convinced her whole life that she was younger than she was, that she was really sick. Did all these like actual medical procedures, like medically tortured her basically. Just mind-blowing to me that she would get 8 years in prison. I understand not wanting to set a precedent for murder being okay just because like you're abused, but I'm like, this just felt like such a unique situation. Like it's blinding.
Did she have some sort of like psychological care while in prison? Do you know if she was like meeting with?
I bet she did, because the way she talked about prison, it's like people seem to either talk about prison as like hell on earth or like, oh, it's really good for me.
Well, that's all. She may have like been. That's the thing too. There's such a disparity in the justice system where like, because it's a for-profit prison system, it just was like, well, whatever development company is in charge of designing this prison will determine how like nice facilities are.
Yeah.
However much money is going into this one will depend on the type of care and what kind of state where laws are, where judges and things are more understanding of that kind of bit. It's all just really, really messed up.
Yeah.
But if it was good for her, God, I hope so. And I'm glad she's out, because yeah, it does seem like one of those like not so situations, but
yeah. Simply Bet said maybe any change would have been an improvement for her. And actually, that's a really good point. Like if she was used to being tortured, maybe prison wouldn't feel that torturous.
Yeah, she'd been in prison for like the one that was like on her body, Chills. Like I'm sure it was a step up.
Chills.
And and her captors are like, it's not a personal thing,
Yeah, like, yeah. For those of you who have never joined us for a stream before, we use these streams to fundraise for the channel because we are donor funded. That's how we're able to do the channel. So if you want to super chat us, you can do that on YouTube. Or if you don't want YouTube to take, I think they take a third of the money, or you don't have super chat set up, you can Venmo us and we'll just read them out like a regular super chat. There's also other ways to support the channel in the description box. I went to Dave & Buster's last night.
Oh,
I had a great time.
First time?
Yeah, first time.
Britain goes Busters.
Britain goes Busters. Yeah, just two friends who had a dream. Look at them now.
Do you think they ever explored each other's bodies?
You don't make
the question on everyone's lips.
It's such a playful place. It's hard to imagine that they wouldn't have, but maybe that's the outlet they had to
I think what we know for sure is that they explored each other's minds, and that is what gave us the gift of Dave & Buster's.
I'll be devastated if it turns out it was not made by two men called Dave & Buster.
It might not be, but it probably was initially, and then got sold to some godless finance corp.
Yeah. But like, it's pure. Like, it was made by a Dave & Buster.
The other night I was like, it must have been after the holidays, when you're just like burned out and you're like, I'm not much of a gamer. That's not usually my go-to. I'm more of a scroller.
Yeah.
Playing the social game. But I was like, I need to play like a high stimulation racing game, where like colors and things are just like,
Okay.
and we're like, should we go to Dave and Buster's? And so I'm glad that
Did it help?
We didn't go.
Oh.
I think I ended up just like.
I get it. Like I've been saying for years, I wish I was addicted to video games.
Yeah.
I got addicted to reading over Christmas break, and that was really nice.
That's probably the best.
Like every second, I like wanted to be back to my book, which was honestly like very cool.
Aww.
Yeah.
Drew said like they like the term pruning in lieu of purging. I was at Shannon Plant's the other day, and she told me that plant collecting is the healthiest addiction you can have. And I was like, I'm just kind of an addict. And I was like,
unless you're just like so fucking lining the pockets of Monsanto.
Damn. If you are single-handedly responsible for the erosion of the the global ecosystem by your little plant habit, then fuck you.
Fuck you, truly. But yeah, I mean, especially in Salt Lake City, I'm like, we have to have as many plants as possible for the air, right? It has to help. I heard that like the amount of houseplants you have to improve the air is quite high. It's like 20 in a room, but like we get close to that. I got this big guy Fern helping me out, I think.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of pruning, I have had to prune that thing so much lately.
Really?
There's just so many like sticks in it.
Oh yeah, they get stick. Ferns are tough. They shed a lot. Mm-hmm. And that one has just been banging for so long.
Yeah.
Do you fertilize
my divorce fern? I do occasionally, but not very often. We have a super chat from Anthony who said, towards that better lighting, and thank you so much. We need all new equipment at this point in our YouTube career, so we really appreciate it. Brag, 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 being addicted to reading. I know. But in my defense, I was an only child who wasn't, people didn't want to be friends with, so I had to be addicted to reading. It wasn't cool back then.
I had a whole outsider complex as a kid, but it was just through being raised Mormon and being like, other kids say swear words, therefore I can't be friends with them.
Probably the singing hymns through the hallways.
That was another addition.
It's probably isolating.
Yeah, that's when that really fortified. But that was when I got really into reading as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be, sorry, just to bring it back to Gypsy Rose, that's all my brain is thinking about right now. And honestly, a great retitle after we finish this to get people to watch the stream. But I feel like she's going to plunge into influencer life now.
Oh, yeah.
Which
she's going to become an activist for victims of
Munchausen's. Yeah. Which.
And she's going to be up there with like Eminem.
In what way? Has he ever been an advocate for Munchausen's?
I just know that's what he said in one of his raps about his mom. I don't know if that's
Wait, really?
One of those hyperboles he's so famous for.
What's the line?
He's got several songs about how much he hates his mom.
Yeah, no, I know that.
And then also songs about forgiving his mom. So.
But he's mentioned Munchausen's by proxy.
Yeah. Googling
immediately, have to know. Well, it
might be cleaning out my closet.
Well, it's never been confirmed.
I'm ashamed of how much angry white boy rap I know.
Eminem, it's never been confirmed, but his allegations are reminiscent of some aspects of Sharp Objects plot. Debbie Mathers has denied allegations and sued Eminem for defamation in 2000.
Oh, yeah. That whole thing.
Oh, I just want to know it's just... Oh, God. Someone on Reddit said Mum's spaghetti takes on a new meaning now. And someone else said, oh, shit, that's why there was vomit on his sweater already. Why does this feel like just the darkest? It just feels so dark.
I don't know. I think the spaghetti is just about him being nervous and barfing on his shirt. I don't think that is about Munchausen's. I'll find the line.
But that's quite a specific accusation to make, Munchausen's by proxy. Like, in general, if a kid said that, I'd be like, they're probably not lying.
Well, he's a poet, and sometimes he just has to channel his feeling. I think he had a really, really toxic.
No, I know, but I'm like, that's such a specific allegation.
Yeah.
It's not just like my mom sucked. It's
like, oh, I've heard that term. I've looked it up. I've been like, wow, that was exactly my experience growing up as a child. Uh-oh, there goes the light. Should we open up this curtain a little bit?
Oh,
I'm sorry, Mama. I never meant to hurt you. But tonight, I'm cleaning out my closet. That's me too, Eminem. Yeah. I've been pruning.
He's been on Depop all day. I'm not sure about opening that. In my experience, you can try.
Watch the right side of your face. Is it helping?
I don't know. I hate it. Well, yeah, don't do it. It doesn't make a difference.
Just see the. Oh, it makes a huge difference on my face.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Okay. He also said his mum would sprinkle Valium on his food when he was a kid.
Whoa.
And that's how he became addicted to Valium.
Whoa.
Debbie said his upbringing was fine. So you can probably find them. That's got to be tough to have. Like, imagine your like parent trauma being on a world stage like that, just from the parents' perspective as well. It's an insane revenge to be like one of the most famous people in the world. And
yeah, but then you have the counter revenge option, which is to sue them for all the millions that they're making that you know you'll never see because their art and success was in response to you, not in due to your support, but due to your pain that you instilled in them.
Right.
Do you ever just feel like you don't have the right amount of mother wound? Like it's like
no,
like it's not enough to really make your art deep and meaningful, but
hard to say on that one. I just think my artistic skills are too weak. I think it's not a question of the mother wound not being deep enough, but who's to say?
Well, should we jump into our little game?
Yeah, should we play a little game?
You talked about going to Dave & Buster's and, little breaks from the normal. I today was listening to some classical music and some opera while just tending to my little tasks around the house, and talk about really dramatizing your life. I'm like walking up the stairs and it's like Vincero, and I'm like, wow, I'm just walking up the stairs, but I really feel like I've done something spectacular. Thanks, Pavarotti.
In the Claymation Mental Health Podcast episode 2, where you talked about how your toxic trait is thinking you could be a rapper if you truly went for it. Mine is thinking I could do opera if I just had some training, if I could just like do a 3-month course.
You could.
Well, I think opera is like highly specialized and people train since childhood.
Sure, but you could be a person who does what people think is opera.
Yeah, like quite well.
Yeah.
I suppose that's kind of where you are at with rapping too.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh my God. I was thinking about someone from BYU, Idaho, who was like, Andrea Bocelli, that guy can't even sing well. He's just popular because people think he's an opera singer, but he's not. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You're a 40-year-old getting your bachelor's in opera at BYU, Idaho. Let me know how that goes.
Well, that's why he was saying that. You would have a complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with being a 40-year-old getting, your education. No, but that's awesome. But
BYU, Idaho was a uniquely bad university for like older people returning to school, because I just feel like it was such a juvenile environment. So it would be like one of the worst ones to be going to.
Just one of those like check yourself.
Oh my God. Melissa literally did 3 years of a vocal performance degree to be an opera singer and burn out. It does seem like opera singing lends itself to burning out.
Oh yeah. I mean, isn't that like the whole motif of opera is like burning out as a metaphor set to musical theater? Yeah. They're not all tragedies, but it kind of feels that way sometimes.
So Kelly, I took opera lessons for 6 months. I am not a singer.
How did
My
it go?
memoir will be bad soprano. Sounds like maybe not that well if they don't identify as a singer.
Well, I love how many operatos we have in the chat. That's so fun.
Yeah. See, I wish we'll talk about that at a different time. Should we do the game?
Sure. I wish we could hear everyone's like do little performances.
I know, like everyone just do your best operatic note.
We should do a talent show with the gang. Like set up a
virtual talent show.
Yeah, that'd be such a fun
Who would be brave enough to perform in something like that?
Anyone who feels like
I would really respect someone.
I would love to know like people who we could do like little auditions.
Wow.
And then just have like a minute demonstration from each person. That'd be so fun.
Oh, Dawn's saying got to start a Discord voice chat. Yeah, I guess there are other options. We're just so technically challenged even on YouTube.
Pole dances while opera singing? Yes. Opera is the marathon of performance art.
Why is that? Are they long? Is that why?
It just feels like such a deep, maybe medium's not the right word, but like such a historically, like there's such a rich and long history with it that you really have to be like, have a long, it's not like anyone who's just like, oh, I'm gonna get into pop and it can just be like whatever I want it to be. It's like you have to like really be into that thing.
It's like ballet.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just you cannot be good at ballet. Just kind of. Although I do think you would be really good at ballet, quicker than most. Said it for years. Yeah. You say audition. All of a sudden, I'm terrified. Exactly.
Sorry, I meant rehearsal.
Oh, there's no microphones in operas. I actually didn't know that.
Oh.
And operas are long songs.
Beautiful.
We're learning a lot.
Which opera also seems mime adjacent.
I was thinking that, yeah. But then also in mime, it's like so silent, but they're not. But then it's like.
What is mimery but an opera
of the body?
Of the body, yes, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all aren't even ready for the next claymation episode. We get so deep into mimes that we're probably never going back, and we're gonna ask that you all honor the first rule of Mime Club and
don't talk about.
All right, game time.
All right, it's just a little questiony situation. What is the best trait? Actually, let's maybe. There's two good ones on here. I'll do both. What is the best trait you inherited from your mother, and what is the best one you inherited from your father? With all of these, we'd love to read your answers too. Also, we are still doing super chats via YouTube or Venmo. Best trait from your mum?
Ooh. My mom is a really empathetic. Well, both my parents are like empathetic and kind people and very like motivated by like trying to do good for people generally. And my mom was just like really good at like understanding specific needs of people, especially like people in grief and tending to that. So not that I'm especially good at that, but I feel like that was an example that she set that I'm like trying to embody more as I get older.
Yeah.
And my dad set a really good example of, and I think a trait I got from him is he's pretty like independent, and he wasn't afraid to like try new financial or like different crafts and pursuits and careers. And
that is a good quality
kind of like
to have.
Kind of scary because it's like risky, but he taught me that like a little bit of risk is okay to like pursue what is like best for you. He started like designing homes, having like never done that, and just started building things. And I'm like, that's so cool. I want to do that someday.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah.
Let's see what people are saying. Rebecca, dad, interest in learning. That's a great one. Ellen, dad, creative, go-getter attitude. Mum, health advocacy. Yeah, my dad's kind of a health advocacy guy too. I feel like he taught me good habits. Like we'd always go like swimming and biking, and he's vegetarian and was always into health. Per aspera ad astra. Mum, reason/logic. Dad, empathy. Rebecca, mum, probably empathy. Ice Cream Headache is wondering if Tana's Every Shade of Green video is still in the works.
It is, yeah. Unfortunately, the director has had just like a really hard health time.
Really?
So it's like, yeah, we'll put projects on pause, like just get well. And but I did reach out to him recently, and he sent me the cut of what it is so far. And I'm like, sometimes I get worried, like, oh, it's been so long. It's gonna, and it is kind of a blast from the past now. It's like the first song I ever wrote and produced, so it's like feels old to me, but like the video is so gorgeous, and we are now in the works to finish up some of the effects and getting it out there, and I'm really excited.
Potential 2024 release.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'd like to hope so.
Yeah. Aunt Jer, mum, generosity. Dad, silence. Yeah,
that honestly is a gift. As the mimes won't tell you.
That was one of my goals for the year, is like know when to be silent more. Not in a way of like shutting yourself down, you know what I mean? Like holding back when you shouldn't. But I do think there are times where we deserve to give ourselves permission to be silent and to like not have to explain or not feel the need to voice anything, you know?
Yeah. What's the Bo Burnham song about just shutting up? Like everything all the time. Anyway, yeah, I feel that, especially in online communications where I feel the compulsion to like have to respond to everything addressed to me or addressed to anything that I'm like peripherally concerned with. I'm like, I actually don't have to do this. Where is it written that little primate me has to spend their days chatting away on Instagram or Twitter? I really do not have to do that.
Yeah, I think sometimes you feel
They
like
say year after year.
If someone makes like an egregious enough accusation or like says something intense enough, you're like, well, I have to reply to that. But it's like, no, you don't.
You actually don't.
Yeah.
If I'm going to reply, I need like more and more, especially for people who are just like not at all interested in any good faith understanding of you or your motivations or understanding. It's like either I'm responding with absurdity or not at all. Like I'm not getting dragged into this. Like it's so silly.
My dad and my similarities are also some of our differences. He was vocally pro-Vietnam War at a very liberal college, and I was vocally pro-LGBTQ at a very religious college.
Nice.
We were both willing to go against the flow, just in very different ways. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's cool. Did you share yours?
I guess from my mom, I would probably say generosity. She's very generous. And I feel like that has always given me like a pretty good like abundance mindset with giving. Like I've always just like naturally felt that if you give, you get back, like, you know. And then my dad, yeah, probably like health advocacy or I suppose like financial sensibility, even though I feel like my parents can almost go too far in being frugal.
Thriftiness as a...
Yeah, but it's like bigger than just being frugal. I think my dad's just good at like investing and like making your money work for you. And he's only been a civil servant in his life, but he's been able to like become a landlord. And so yeah, I guess that would be my answer.
I'm going to start referring to him as my lord.
My lord.
I guess he's not my lord. He's the lord.
My Chris. Oh my God. We can't talk about it yet. But watch our new tennis shoes among the Nephites video.
Next card.
Yeah, let's do another one. Are people kind or selfish by nature? I feel like we share similar views on this.
Can pianos play C sharp or D flat? It's like...
Exactly. It just depends on the conditions we're in. Although humans are wired to feel good when they help each other. So, you know, you can make the argument that you could make either argument. And ultimately it's like we're not just one thing.
Yes, and we got it all, baby.
Yeah.
So do most animals.
Mm-hmm.
That's like... I see a lot of like religious people being like, "Oh, without religion, how do we teach morality?" And I think it's good to have some kind of like more like moral conversation, a community conversation about what's expected and tolerated in a community to just like be nice. But so much of that is already like hardwired in us, and given the conditions, like will more easily facilitate us being kind and collaborative. It's like scarcity fueled anger that keeps us.
Yeah.
Not always, because some of us just got fucked up brains, but...
This is a good comment from Melancholy Claire. Selfish and kind can go hand in hand, which I'm imagining is sort of referring to people pleasing and how it is inherently sort of selfish because like you're doing it for personal, you're doing it to try and like control others and ultimately to like help yourself win the status game. Not that means everyone who's a people pleaser is a bad person. It's just like it's a survival strategy, that we'll have, which just makes me think of like I do think like there is a difference between being like the stereotypical understanding of being kind versus being loving, and I do think like love is like generally something that benefits the whole, and is also like, I do think there's no such thing as one-way liberation. And I think love and like true kindness is like mindful of like never enabling, or, you know what I mean? Like being quote unquote kind or polite in ways that like so almost like enable other people's dysfunctions. Like it's loving to like set boundaries and to protect yourself in many situations. Yeah, I do think like loving actions are those that benefit the whole. And sometimes like the thing that would like seem nice to do in a situation is not the most loving thing. Like sometimes the loving thing to do is like the harder thing to do, like because it doesn't look as nice. Sometimes there's like an easy, polite, nice thing you can do that might on the surface look nice, but like the truly loving thing doesn't look that pretty. You know what I'm saying? With like not enabling, not like betraying yourself. And well, for example, like people will like stay in unhealthy relationships because they're like, I feel so bad like for leaving them. But it's like, if you're feeling like you don't want to be in this relationship, then I do think it would be liberating for you both, whether or not you both realize it, for the relationship to end, because like both of you need to learn to stand on your own 2 feet. And yeah, you get me?
Next card.
Do you want to pull one?
What name would you never give your child?
Brigham. I feel so bad for ex-Mormons who have like Brigham specifically, just because it's like such an LDS name. Like Joseph is like, you know, everyone's called Joseph around the world. Nephi, Tiankum.
Tiankum is so funny.
Don't you?
Your name is literally T in Cum, and it's about a guy from an 1800s Bible fan fiction.
When you put it like that,
it's great.
Don't you really like the name Alma?
I do. In the Latin-based languages, I think in most of them means soul, and I think that's lovely. But would I never name a child? I think it was Reductress, maybe Clickhole, that did a thing recently that was like, woman who doesn't want kids still wants to be able to name kids.
I saw
and
that
I was
one.
Like, yes, that's me exactly.
Willard. I quite like Willard. Yeah, Donald actually at this point. Donald's out, which is such a shame because Donald Duck seemed like a really good guy.
Yeah, you used to be able to pin a child's whole identity on a lovable but irritable duck character.
Lovable but irritable. Not my favorite duck, but a good duck, I think.
One of the top ducks
top
out
5
there.
Ducks, I'd say. Can you think of any other famous ducks?
The Mighty Ducks.
The Mighty Ducks.
There's got to be other ones.
There has to be famous ducks.
There's got to be even other Disney ducks, right? Daffy Duck.
Yeah.
What are the little orphan ducks who have the Scrooge ducks? Scrooge McDuck. Notoriously.
Damn, you suddenly know a lot about ducks.
Did you see that video? One of my favorite clips on the internet is what's his name? Ahmed from Community, and he's getting interviewed by Larry King, and he's like, what are some of your like guilty pleasures? And he's like, oh, I love a new pair of socks. And he's like, no, I mean like private jet or something. And he's like, Larry, I'm on DuckTales. DuckTales, yeah, that's one.
Okay, everyone's saying Huey, Dewey, Louie. Never heard of them.
Great ducks.
Louie Ducks, Duck with Lemonade Stand.
They should team up.
Howard the Duck. Never heard of any of these ducks. I've been.
You need to get your ducks in a row.
I think I was wrapped in cotton wool duck-wise growing up. They only wanted us to know about Donald.
Oh, damn it. I'm not going to answer this out of protest. Just kidding, I'll say it because now you're curious. Of all famous people alive today, who do you think will still be discussed in 500 years? Unfortunately, if humanity makes it a lot longer, it'll probably be Donald Trump.
Although I wonder if in 500 years, like right now, will be like really irrelevant. But I guess it is also like the birthplace of the leap from like non-tech to tech fully. So maybe But I'm like, I feel like so much will happen in 500 years.
Yeah, maybe this is just the before times of the primitive, crude.
Yeah, and will the planet even
primate
be
era.
habitable in 500 years?
I love to hope that the machines will be at least doing their thing by then, and we can just, send it on.
Yeah. Well, I was allowed 30 minutes of TV a day growing up, usually spent it all on DuckTales. That's a strict TV policy. Count Duckula?
Count Duckula? Are you just making stuff up?
If you guys have just been doing duck puns.
If you're just ducking on us.
I don't understand what Taylor Swift means. Do people think she's duck-like?
I don't know.
That one's not making sense.
We were all ducks in the early 2000s.
Still talked about in 500 years is probably what they meant by that.
Can I do two? Oh,
and I think that's true.
500 years, yeah.
Yeah. 500 though.
500.
Who's a musician from 500 years ago?
Amadeus Mozart? No, he must have been like 1700. It's crazy that the U.S. is only like 300, 200 years old, 1776.
So 500 years ago would be like the 1500s. They didn't really have musicians yet.
Yeah, music hadn't been really around.
Just like the little like 2-string banjo.
Some of that, like Baroque
Bach.
and Bach. Beethoven, it's like 1800s. What kind of people do you most admire?
Oh, well, the other day I was watching an Esther Perel interview, and I was just flooded with how much I admired her. There's like the top tier of people you'll admire, where it like almost hurts how like good they are. Like when you found maybe Terence McKenna, or know. And what I really appreciated about watching Esther Perel is she's just such a genius. And I felt like the guy who was interviewing her, at least in the realm of what they were talking about, like that's not his strong suit. So I felt like he was kind of like a kid playing with the big kids, like interviewing Esther Perel, but she was like completely undeterred. Like she just was so brilliant, but like so completely compassionate, but also like she didn't pull any punches. Like it was like there were times where you could tell, because they were talking about like relationship stuff, there were times where the guy didn't necessarily want to like get further into it, but then Esther Perel seemed to have this attitude of just like, you invite me on your podcast, like I'm going to ask you the kinds of questions that like I ask, like I'm not just going to give you like a softball, a bunch of sound clips. She would like press him, and she'd be like asking more about his relationship. And I just thought that was like, it was just impressive watching the way she was so brilliant, so compassionate, but she didn't dumb herself down in any way. And I don't know. I guess I just appreciate people that can synthesize ideas holistically in like such a powerful, accessible way for people, while also being like she's so charismatic and smart. And I feel like I've talked about this for minutes now, but I just love her. So I guess my current things I'm admiring is everything that Esther Perel is.
Well, that is definitely admirable. I mostly admire really hot people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm like, wow, there's something about them.
That's more resentment for me.
Melancholy Claire.
Oh, thank you.
Hopefully this helps with the malaise.
Who's got malaise?
Well, melancholy.
Oh, because of the malaise.
Melancholy.
Melancholy.
Ennui? Melancholy? Melancholy? Sorry, I'm really doing a really bad French thing here.
Should we open that more? Do you think there'll be less shadows if we open that more?
Open this more? Yeah.
It's like bugging me how we're half in shadow the whole time. Ooh, Exmo from Logan.
And
we used to live there.
Aren't we always, for the light to shine on an object, it must cast a shadow, and this is consciousness itself. There must always be an observer, an observed, and a light by which to perceive it.
Really good, really strong.
Thanks. What is the most annoying sound? Whatever I was just doing.
The most annoying sound.
A baby crying on an airplane.
That one's up there, but is it the most annoying? I am a person who hates like the thought of nails on a chalkboard. Like as soon as you think of it,
you win.
Can you guys think of any other?
I don't want to think about it anymore.
Yeah, we need to cleanse that palette.
Oh.
What other sounds are I mean, any kind of like bathroom fan being left. You know, I saw a TikTok of
A bathroom fan.
everyone talking about how like I think it was like talking about autistic girls, but it probably is just a human trait of like when like the oven fan is left on, or like there's a fan left on somewhere that doesn't need to be on. I'm like a hawk, and I'm just like, ugh. Like I can't rest until the fan is off.
I love some ambient noise. I'll be like clicking
I
on
don't mind
machines
ambient
just to get a
noise.
mechanical symphony of cacophony going.
An opera.
Yeah.
See, like I have air purifiers, and I don't mind them being on because they're supposed to be on. But it's like when a fan is left on, I think it's just also growing up with my parents. They're big. Like if you leave a room, you immediately turn off the light, and they can like smell it in the house. So
You
if you've
can
left
hear
a
it
light,
like
genuinely, my mum will hear when I turn my heater off and on in my bedroom, and she's like a hawk with like, have you turned your heater off? On it? Yeah, Christmas break was
Again,
fun.
your childhood seems very stressful to me.
Dana, it was constant, chronic stress. Like I cannot stress this enough. There were moments of peace, I suppose, but it was a very stressed out childhood. I was not allowed to relax. Like there wasn't even a concept to me, really. A gospel singer on an airplane. Oh my God, wait.
God, yeah.
Have you seen that video? There's like this woman who's like a Christian singer, and she's on a plane, and she just like I think she just got nominated for a Grammy, or she got an email saying that.
So
and
she's
then
fully empowered.
She like announces it to everyone on the plane, and they're like kind of being nice about it, even though she's being like a bit narcissistic. They're like, well, fair enough, you did get nominated. And then she's like, I would love to share my gift with you all right now. And then she like is about to like launch into a song, and then the stewardess is like, can you stop? Like we're about to take off. Like we need you to stop. And she's like, let's ask these people if I should stop. And then everyone is just like, oh, everyone's like shying away. Like they were never as invested as she's like Tana, it was one of the worst things I've ever witnessed. The ultimate cringe.
Oh my God. Catch me
hard.
getting like my first glimpse into professional validation and immediately losing all connection to real life living.
No, you wouldn't. You
just fully ungrounded, instantly untethered.
The untethered soul.
We recently got
nominated for a Brody Award.
We were nominated for a Brody Award, and we would love to quickly.
When I was flying to England, a girl, as I got on the plane, a girl said to me as I was walking to my seat, she was like, Samantha Shelley from Zelf on the Shelf. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. She was like, I love you guys.
Aww.
And I was like, that's a really cool thing to have happened. But I stayed humble.
That's good of you. You should have just started singing one of our parody songs. Just gently stroke her face.
Okay, this is actually a really good answer. Rebecca said the most annoying sound is the YouTubers my brother listens to. And I don't know what those are, but there are a genre of YouTubers. A lot of them are like people that make content for kids. They're just like, rah, rah, rah. But yeah, I do find that one of the most annoying sounds in the world. And it terrifies me. It chills me to my bones.
Ooh, cardboard scratch. It's kind of like nails.
Ooh, Auntie Jer, I helped someone discover they had a low battery smoke alarm somewhere in their house. They were streaming and I was watching and listening. I couldn't stand it. They had no idea the problem existed. That is a nightmare.
Actually, a dying battery in a smoke alarm is a horrible sound.
Heinous.
Great that they do that for a reason, but
I don't know. Like I could spot a fire. Take them out. I don't need it.
I have in previous residence. I don't do it now.
Just
gone and just taken out the battery.
Don't blame
me. If I die, I die.
Yeah, honestly.
Not worth it.
I will gain more life by taking this risk.
Because waking up in the night and like having to change is just.
Yeah.
I hate alarm, like 99.99999% of alarm clocks. Just the concept. Think about it.
Yeah.
Alarm. Why do you want to wake up in a state of alarm? What a horrible way to start a day. Capitalism is brutalizing us. That's what I need. Like, if anything, just like a quiet, do
you know what really does work is I used to have this app on my phone that would like start like vibrating a bit around it would like pick up on your circadian rhythm because you would like put it next to you while you slept, and then it would like pick just the right time within a window to wake you up. And that shit really works. And I bet those like light alarm clocks that will just like bring about a sunrise, those really work as well.
That sounds great. That's a playing God I can get behind.
With like a gentle.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have some Venmo super chats to read out.
Oh my God.
Yay, thank you.
I love these live streams. I forget how much I love them.
Gabrielle said, you all are good for my mental health. Thank you. Then why am I so bad for my own mental health? Just kidding, it's fine. Olivia said, "Thank you for your videos. They are my ultimate comfort watch." Oh, that's so nice.
Sorry to make that face while you were reading.
Was it the alarm?
It was the alarm mixed
Yeah.
with the words mukbang ASMR, and that
Why were you reading mukbang?
Yeah,
Oh, I can't
bad
imagine
sounds.
enjoying chewing sound
No.
ASMR. ASMR can be nice, but a chewing ASMR, absolutely not.
I sometimes become so self-conscious of how loud I'm chewing and
No,
feel like
me
I have to
too.
like
But
at the movie
I
theater
feel like
the other
I
day.
am
was
a loud chewer though.
I think I am too.
I've never thought you were a loud chewer, but I've had most
It's
people
really
throughout
bad.
my life tell me I'm a really loud chewer because food was like such an addiction for me in the past, and I was like, you know, like really intense chewer.
Oh, speaking of the movies, remember we actually just saw 2 movies.
Yeah, Poor Things with Emma Stone, which was
So good.
so one of the best. So good, yeah. 10 out of 10. And then what was the other one called? The Boy and the Heron.
The Boy and the Heron.
I didn't really get on board with that one as much. Like I found myself just like wanting it to be over sooner. There were things I appreciated about it. I almost just wanted like a movie in that style that was a more normal plot. Because for me, I just felt like, and I'm sure there's so much I don't understand about like all the symbology, but to me it was like so long and so much for like what seemed like pretty like vague lessons or like messages. I don't know. I just felt like the payoff wasn't there for me in terms of like the plot and like the message. But you loved it, didn't you?
Yeah, I really loved it. My thought was this would be great to watch while tripping on mushrooms because it
then
felt very much
like in the visuals.
An allegory. Like it's definitely a self-referential for him. And
see, that's the thing. I've never seen any of his other stuff except for Spirited Away, but yeah.
And he's very like something, and that's something I actually do really like about his stuff is that he doesn't answer a lot of questions and just like kind of drops you into a scene where you don't know all the rules or backstory of what's going on. You just kind of have to take it at face value. And I like that because I used to be very like against that. I'm not saying that there's like a right way to be, and you can have different tastes at different times, but it was good for me to kind of like have to surrender to the experience more. And I love it just because I think his stuff is just so beautiful to watch. Like everything, you're just like, this is
I do think it
gorgeous.
Was. And I liked how it was like quiet and all the sounds were very pleasing, especially before it got to the fight scenes. But for me personally, I just like my interest was like not fully there. But if it was like that style, especially that sound style with like more of a like a plot that was more like normcore dialogue based, I don't know, just like something that's more like my style, then that would be like a dream. Because that almost had an ASMR quality to it.
Oh, I noticed that too. Like I was like, oh, you can hear like the fabric moving on her shirt.
I liked that.
And you can hear the grass whisking about. It was like very attentive to detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
Cool. New question?
New question. Is there any sport or hobby whose appeal you struggle to understand?
Yeah, last night when I was at Dave & Buster's, I was watching, I think it's wrestling. They were, well, I don't know, maybe it was boxing. It was like 2 guys with like purple and green hair. I don't know if it was the choreographed kind or real, but it was just like guys like hitting each other.
Punching with green hair?
The green hair wasn't part of it. They just like, that was the vibe of the boys.
Oh,
but it was on the
boys?
It was on the TV, and it was just like they were like in a ring, like a boxing ring, and you know, like doing that. So it was either like wrestling or boxing or some kind of hybrid. And to me, I'm just like, I just find it so boring. And the thought of it being choreographed, I understand that it's an art, and for a lot of people, it like taps into a thing that I just don't have. Like I don't enjoy like fight scenes at all. But to me, I'm just like, it feels like such a. Sorry if I'm offending anyone. This is just my honest opinion for myself. But I feel like, to me, like, okay, it's choreographed movement, but I'm like, but dance is so much more beautiful. Like, I just don't get the point of a choreographed fight. Like, I guess I kind of get it because like, in movies and stuff, it can be impressive. But just like them in a ring, I just don't get it.
Yeah, maybe a choreographed boxing I wouldn't appreciate, but I love, like, I'm not always drawn to film violence. Like, it's not always interesting to me. A lot of the times it's mostly gratuitous. And like, that was something like, I don't enjoy a lot of animations because of all the just like clack, 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 clack. Whereas I found the Ghibli one really just like, oh, this is just like nice. And but also I really like a lot of kung fu movies and stuff, because the technical prowess is just so impressive and what it took to do that. And there's something like beautiful about transmuting the heart of violence, the actions of violence into dance.
Yeah.
And saying like,
I
taking
think
this
kung
and making
fu
it
makes more sense to me, because I feel like that is like is more like beautiful physically in a way that just like watching. I just don't like.
Or the best example, capoeira, where it's literally like dance fighting as a medium and break dance fighting as a medium. They like invented that.
Yeah.
That's really, really fun to watch. Those guys people who are really agile and strong with that.
But even then, it's just like, I just think I don't have the thing in my brain that, and I do think there can be a gender divide there, whether it's biology or socialization.
Well, you're gonna hate my birthday because we're doing a lucha libre. I'm renting a wrestling ring, and everyone's gonna come in their fight sonas.
Wow. What's your fight sona?
To be determined.
Okay.
I'll figure it out.
But you're gonna be wrestling?
Yeah.
Jared was a wrestler.
Yeah. If you want, we can have a role for you that's not necessarily wrestling. There's a lot of
I'd love to be just a ring girl, to be honest.
A ring girl, yeah, you can be a ring girl.
Yeah.
I like it because it's like drag. It's just like straight drag.
Melissa said American football is infinitely uncompelling. I agree with that. Obviously, Taylor Swift starting to go, I'm like, that piques my interest a bit, but like the game itself, I'm not seeing it. The sound, back to the bad sounds, the sound of people kissing in shows, that one can get me, especially on that show Love at First Kiss.
Yeah.
Or like reality shows where they're just mic'd up to the nines. Like I feel like in movies they like are trying to not make it an unenjoyable experience, but a lot of the time on reality TV shows it's just like so sloppy and you're like, oh, I shouldn't be listening this close. Yeah. What's the one you don't?
Sports or hobbies that I struggle to understand.
Sports or hobbies?
I do like. I get all sports are just like games that we invent for fun, and so it's like it kind of makes sense on a fundamental level.
Quidditch, now called quad ball.
That one I do struggle to understand.
You're having to like run around on the stick the whole time.
I do.
The whole point is that you're flying.
I know. Yeah.
Not everything has to be brought to life, but for the people that it's fun. Oh, and you know that like, it's just like a pony.
Horse head.
Yeah,
thing.
Cody did it. It's like professional pony showing.
It's like so simulacrous at this point. It's like why. But maybe as someone who just really does appreciate whimsy and absurdity, maybe that really is the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe it's offering something that I can't even understand.
Anyone have a really good like niche hobby or sport you've ever been a part of? I would love to know. Luca, I watched my college's Quidditch club try to recruit underclassmen and felt so much secondhand embarrassment as they scuttled along the side. Were they on their brooms as they were trying to recruit?
Oh my God. When I used to work for BYU Idaho Auxiliary Services, and I had access to the entire database of BYU Idaho's, all their photos from forever. Cool. And I found back in the day, they used to play donkey riding basketball. They would fill the gym with people on donkeys.
Real donkeys?
Yes, real donkeys that you'd play basketball with.
That's mean.
Yeah, weird game. I, in high school, tried to get people into cricket, but it didn't stick.
Cricket was quite big in England. I would have to play cricket in PE sometimes.
I saw the Bollywood film Lagan and was like, we're doing this.
Cricket. Oh yeah, India's really good at cricket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we learned from the film
The Indians,
Lagan.
the Australians, and the Brits. They be cricketing.
Did cricket start as a British game? Or that they
like
exported, or did they learn it somewhere else?
I think it is British, and that's why India and Australia both are really good at it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It does seem very like, come on, old boy, let's play cricket in the yard.
Like there'll be like cricket
before the fox
lawns
hunt
in England. There are like cricket fields like around. Yeah.
I love bat and racket games, mostly racket games.
Me too. I love racket games. Badminton, squash, racquetball, tennis. Why are you laughing at squash?
I've just never heard it. I don't know what it is. So.
Squash is like a more serious racquetball.
More serious racquetball?
No, like for real. Like
with a name like squash.
You know how like snooker is a more serious pool?
No.
Okay, you know nothing about sports.
Why do they give the most
sports
serious
of my
games
country.
deeply unserious names? Britain is a deeply unserious naming country.
No.
They're like, oh, enjoy your spotted dick while you drink your curly nimbus.
Squash is like,
play
it's
some
so
squash.
similar to racquetball, but I think the racket is different and the ball is different, and it's like it's kind of like the difference between like what's the one, baseball and like softball maybe, or I don't
There's
know.
basically no difference other than the way you throw it and the ball.
Like that, this is squash. To you, that's just racquetball.
Yeah, to me, I see racquetball.
There's something different about it. I think the ball might be different and the racket might be different. Anyway, it was cool that there were squash courts at BYU Idaho. I liked going to those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we get back into rackets? I want to play pickleball.
Yeah,
Someone invite me to play pickleball with you. Also, I love probably my favorite game, honestly. This is maybe one of the bro things about me is I love, what's the one where you like hit it spike ball?
Yeah.
I could play spike ball for hours.
I like spike ball, but that is one that to me almost feels like a fake game because it doesn't like quite bounce as satisfactorily as you like wish it would. I don't know. I do like spike ball when I've played it, but it's like it feels like slightly fake to me. I can't explain it.
That one is definitely like the agility is what makes it fun. Like the feeling of like, oh, I have to like almost save it every time is fun.
Alina said the Rest is History podcast talked about how a lot of these sports came out of British boarding school culture where every school had their own game, like cricket, for example. That makes so much sense.
I love when we
hobby horsing, that's the name of on the stick. I had a friend who was allergic to real horses who did hobby horsing.
That's sweet.
That's tough.
Did we didn't get a
have we been ghosting on Super Chats?
Are we caught up? Mormon adjacent. We have sports like stick pull and leg wrestle.
I'm getting decision fatigue with the questions.
Well, I'm forcing one on us. That's done. Not answering it. If you had the whole world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say or do?
It's tough because like you're never really gonna like change anyone's minds. I feel like I would want to just like spread some like compassion, but I'd have to think on that. Like, what would be the best method to like in 30 seconds, like effectively say something that might inspire people to be more compassionate towards themselves and others. I'd want to, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. What would you say? 55
or
burgers,
do
55 fries.
Correct, Alex.
That was the right answer. Well done.
I think that honestly answers it.
Yeah, I think that is.
I'll take that.
There's nothing better than that.
Riddle solved.
That really says it. Nemo! Aww.
Nemo the Mormon.
Nemo. Thanks for loving our new camera angle. We tried. We tried our best.
They call us triangles.
Yeah. Tryhards.
As you get older, do you find that you act more and more like your parents?
As you get older, do you act more and more like your parents?
Okay.
I think it's like a yes and no one. I think there's ways that you just kind of like take on the behavior of our parents as a kid that then you like then you unlearn as an adult. But then there's other ways that as a kid you swore you would never be like your parents and then you notice that you are becoming like them as an adult. Mm-hmm. So that one's sort of 50-50 for me. What about you?
Yeah. Kind of both, where you like, oh, I literally am I am them. I'm their genetic code just mingled together.
Can't escape it.
Cultivated under their watchful care and influence.
Under their care and influence.
Under their influence.
Under
the influence of parenting. And yeah, so you're like, oh, everything about me does come from them. And so you just like, I identify it more and more while identifying with it less and less.
Nice. Does anyone do mud wrestling anymore? That is such a good question.
Yeah, Republican senators at little private affairs that they pay thousands of dollars to keep hush-hushed. I don't know. That just sounds exactly like
Yeah.
something you would find out a Republican senator was involved with.
Yeah, so true. Making his staffers mud wrestle for his amusement.
Yeah,
He only
exactly.
hires hot staffers.
Describe a time when you felt like a terrible person.
Oh, terrible person. I feel like it's been a while since I felt like a terrible person because, like, for the last 7 or 8 years, 7-ish years, I've had the perspective of like, if I do something I feel guilty about, I'm like, okay, what made you do that? And then I can usually identify what made me do it in a way that does help me at least logically have self-compassion. So it's like, I don't know. That's like quite a dark place to go to, being like, I'm just a terrible person. I guess there's like flares of it that might come up, but I can't think of anything. Can you?
Well, there's always
Maybe I'm overthinking the wording as being
I was going to
too
say
serious.
I've just leaned so far into being a terrible person, accepting the terribleness of my person and the relativity by which I can even make such a judgment as being so futile that it has become so normalized for me that I have not even felt like a terrible person in ages. Also, anytime I've like felt triggered and have like
been reactive
been
in a way that doesn't
reactive.
represent you.
Yeah.
But even then, like, I know too much about myself now to have it be like I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, that's the thing. I honestly feel guilt every time I fill up my gas tank. I'm like, am I single-handedly responsible for the 100,000 deaths in Iraq and Afghanistan due to this country's hyper dependence on oil? Am I personally responsible for the Palestinian Gaza for the genocide happening in Gaza because of the need for a continued extractionism of oil and natural gas?
But ultimately, no, you're not single-handedly responsible.
Am I single-handedly responsible for poisoning the air of Salt Lake City? The highway signs would lead you to believe that. Fucking Mike, our senator, whatever huckster name that guy.
Even in the Tribune, it bugged me because they were reporting on it and they were like, pollution comes from cars, and they like listed all the things and like industry was last. And I'm like, industry is like the biggest one. And I actually haven't felt like a terrible person since I got my Prius 7 years ago. Ever since then, I've
been thinking about that. I'm like, if I could get a secondhand Prius, I'd never feel guilt again.
When you get a secondhand 2013 Prius, it's good for the self-esteem.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
The secondhand self-esteem, which I think Ayn Rand coined that phrase. I get that riding in your car, so it's great.
Yeah, you should. Nemo said Tanner has gone full Brit. He's accepted he's a terrible person. Welcome to the club.
Yes, that is the energy
that is
of
something
England.
I like about British people. It does curtail the narcissism and grandiosity in a way that America hasn't figured out yet. But it comes with its own problems, don't get me wrong. But
yeah.
Apparently, like England had all of that turnover of prime ministers. And everyone is just like, oh, the UK's in the shithole because of it. Like, it was just seen as like such a bad sign of how our country's doing that we had all this turnover. But apparently that's a sign of like a really healthy democracy that we were able to
get through that.
Yeah, which I'm like, that sounds true.
Yeah. That Donald Trump's presidency was just like a continuous flushing of shady, seedy characters.
Yeah. It is quite scary. Yeah, like in the UK, a prime minister could always be like uninstalled. It's like I never expected Donald Trump to get through the 4 years. It's like Loctite here, isn't it?
Yeah. Fun to see his name so many times in the Epstein papers.
Sorry, what did you say?
It's fun to see Donald Trump's name littered so frequently.
I've read a
Epstein
Jane Doe
papers.
story of like a full-on rape accusation that was horrifying.
Bad.
Brenna says, my disabled ass saves on gas by staying home. Beautiful. Amazing. I also save on gas by staying home a lot.
I also want to, it doesn't square for the winter season here, but would love to hop on the electric bike train. On the electric bike, electric train. That sounds fun, but we'll see if our patronage keeps going the way it's going. Thank you all for helping us stay alive. I really appreciate it. This year, I'm getting health insurance, which would have been tax refundable anyway. I just didn't know that really last year. I couldn't have paid for it out of pocket last year anyway, but now I can.
Good for you. We are still taking Super Chats and Venmo Super Chats for the remainder of this stream. Any more questions?
Yes.
I know.
No wonder Botters walked out. This requires me to like have a good memory, and I don't have a good memory. It's like, what's the one time in your? And I'm like, bitch, I don't know about yesterday. Do you believe in good luck charms?
Yeah, I think I do, in the sense that I think if you have an object that you associate with like the internal feeling of being lucky, then you probably will be lucky. Like I do think that's one of those, that luck is sort of a mindset, and if you think you're lucky, you usually will be lucky, either just through confirmation bias or because you kind of are giving off an energy that more invites opportunities that you would consider lucky.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think even without any kind of like metaphysical element to it at all, like you say, human beings, we've always just like ascribed a certain or had certain like connections with various objects where that like make us feel good, if you want to say that, just like, oh, this reminds me of so and so or something and such, or these values that I'm trying to embody or focus on. Like every culture has some form of that, so it's just like a human propensity to feel lucky, if you want to call it that, through these things. And if the placebo effect is going to work for you, then hell, why not? And I think that's one of the beautiful delights of like a post-religious life, is realizing like, oh, this is all religions essentially are most religions essentially are playing on the same like neurological, neurosocial, psychological phenomenon as all the other ones. Like they're all pushing the same buttons and providing the same kind of social cohesive control mechanism. And once you leave that, it gives you the chance to check in with your own personal like myth of poetry. Like, well, what do I think is beautiful? What symbols am I drawn to that I think are remind me of things that I actually value or am interested in? And then I think life becomes much more meaningful in that way, because our power symbols, our totems, and our all that stuff become more personally meaningful.
Yeah, the older I get, the less I shit on like the idea of having an altar. I used to just think was like absurd, but now I'm like, I can understand wanting to create a space with like objects that like represent something sacred to you and help you get in that mindset. Because like honestly, our whole experiences of life is our mindset. So there is like magic in choosing that, you know?
Yeah, it's funny how growing up LDS, we'd always, you read in the scriptures about all the idols that the people would worship, and you'd look at like people who have statues of this or so and so such and such deity and be like, oh, they were idolaters, they bowed before these things.
You can have like these like 12 white guys on your wall.
Yeah, but literally living idols. And then like your literal church mascot is of a space Jesus statue, like that everyone meets in front of. I've prayed in front of those statues before. I was just thinking about that recently. I was like, oh, that's so funny. It's like, oh, you guys worship idols. What we do is totally different. But the people who do that too, they're like, I realize that this piece of like the statue that I crafted with my own hands isn't the creator of the universe. It connects me with that sense of greater identity. Like, duh. But it's only the like religious ethnocentrism that's like, no, what I'm doing is sensible and good, and I'm totally creating this straw man conceptualization of what other cultures are doing. It's very evil and wicked what they're doing, but when I do it, it's actually very good. Very classic.
Cool. Yeah.
I said I wasn't going to get on the religious criticism train, but here I am, all aboard.
That's what you've built your...
It's every day, every like New Year, I'm like, we've never done Mormon content. We're not doing Mormon content. Why does everyone expect us to talk about it?
Yeah. And then when like your income starts to dip, you're like, all right, what's Jeffrey Hahn been saying? Please for the channel.
I will not read the next question until we're super chatted. We're doing a silent protest.
Let's do it. Let's fucking do it. This could be here for a while. That could be tough. We also could engender resentment in our lovely viewers.
I know,
who
if
don't
I was them,
deserve
I'd be like,
this.
I'm fucking out of here.
No,
You guys
fuck
have
you
lost the
guys.
plot. That's the untethered. You've done it.
Yeah, we've become the entitled YouTubers.
All right. Do you find love, or does love find you?
Well, I'm no longer interested in answering because we do have 2 super chats that we've been sleeping on.
Ash can't Venmo us. That's just
Well,
wrong.
the first is Matthew, who said, "Yours content has been so important in helping me understand my existence in a post-Mormon world. Thanks a ton and Happy New Year." Thank you so much, Matthew. And that is another reason I always do enjoy returning to Mormon content, because I do see that there's still a need for it, even though there's all these other wonderful people doing it now. It's it never hurts to have more voices in the space. Also, yes, Ash said, "Can I come hang with you in town?" Lol. You can. It's just that I have to go to Jared's work party soon after this. So.
And I have to go to dinner with you. Get to.
Dave and Buster's.
Yeah. Oh, D&B.
Hello,
we should go to Olive Garden. I got a gift card.
You have a gift card to Olive
From
Garden?
Ash's family, yeah.
So tough to be vegan sometimes. Hell Above Me said, "Engendering resentment is coincidentally my gender." That's so good.
Do you find love, or does love find you? And what's the difference?
Well, it's both, really, I think, because I guess it's the way I think it's meaning to be is do you find a loving romantic partnership? Do you find that person, or do they find you? But if we could maybe broaden the question, well, I do love is a energy you step into, and if you're still seeing it as exclusive, then the chances of you finding real love are quite low, because I feel you have to sort of, no, I don't mean non-monogamy. I just mean love, whatever type of relationship you have. I think it's good to come into a space where you feel love is the backbone of all of it. That's the energy you want running your life, even if it's
thread kind of running through the exact center of all of it. And
so then it's you just meet other people who meet you in that heart space that you've already put yourself in. So that I guess there's some degree of luck in that, but then there's also a degree of attracting that because you are at that. So if we're talking true love, then yeah, I feel it's both.
Yeah, it's yes, and love is the bigger thing. Love taps you into the thing that's bigger than you. So accessing it is the state of when you find it, it is it finding you as well. The seeker becomes the sought, and the hunter becomes the hunted. Hunted by love. My new memoir coming up, my tell-all memoir.
You, the love hunter, and your fight Sona.
Yeah, I'm the one who's hunt me. At what age should a person be considered 100% responsible for their actions? Never. I think environment always goes into it.
Yeah, ridiculous question. Thank you, Dawn. We do appreciate when people smash that like button.
Hate the ones that are memory games.
Hate the ones that don't respect the last 8 years of my life as a stoner.
Literally ableist. Would you rather be stuck on a desert island with your mom or dad? Why?
Dad.
You'd be very practical.
Yeah, he's more physically competent. He's 7 years younger. Yeah, he'd be more helpful. I think it would be easier to. He's a bit more chill than my mum, I would say, and he's also a bit more. They're both fun in their own ways, but I think, I mean, it would definitely have to be my dad. My mum would be used. I would just be I'd be her parent in that situation. I don't feel she'd have much in a desert island. She has lots to offer in general, but on a desert island, she wouldn't be offering a lot. But my dad is a very strong swimmer, and can do some stuff that I think would be more useful.
My dad was desert hunter.
Perfect.
So bow hunter. So
you'd want him.
Very used to the to the lay of the land there and
Yeah.
could maybe help us out. But my mom and I would have a great time. It would be like a fun time until we were dead, and which could have happened at any point, but at least we'd be like laughing along the way.
Oh, that is so hellish to think about. God.
What would you do if you won the lottery? Pay over half of it in taxes?
Yeah. Probably be right back where I started 10 years later, according to the data.
Yep.
I think you have to be really careful apparently when you win the lottery to like, ideally you don't want people to know that you've won the lottery. I guess I would give money to people I love who need it, would buy a home, would go on sick vacations, would upgrade our equipment and only post once a month. And or just would like make fun stuff that is like at that point it would be interesting to see what you would make if like money was no incentive anymore.
Yeah.
And I would invest wisely, which most people apparently don't.
It's so hard to know how to invest these days.
I mean,
like what even is investing? You had to explain it to a friend who's never heard of the concept. Yeah, and I guess it depends on how much you won in the lottery. If it was like a scratch off that you won like $12.50,
I think that
I
it's
guess.
like imagine you won like 800 million.
Then okay,
10
then
million.
you come out with 4 million after taxes. Yeah, invest in real estate.
Yeah.
Acquire some land, live the capitalist dream, and have a home on top of it. And then
I guess donate to effective charities would be nice to be able to do.
I would want to give a little back to the things and people that have helped me, and or maybe people who were in a similar circumstance who like, pay it to the next generation.
You got to talk a bit more quietly sometimes.
Talk a bit more quietly.
You are just quite soft spoken sometimes, and then when I watch the videos back, it's like you have to like turn your volume up, and it's hard to hear you.
My problem is that I can also be like really loud in a moment, and then it's peaking. So should probably just try to keep more consistently. But oh well. Notes for next time. All right, we're a little torn on history here, so we'll see how we think now. Are school uniforms a good idea or a bad idea?
Oh, I definitely think they're a good idea. It
equalizes.
Yeah, even with school uniforms, there are still indicators of status, like what school bag you have. Like you're allowed to have like basically whatever bag you wanted, I think.
How hot someone is and how much money you can tell is already going into their skincare routine.
Yeah, but I do think you can, there is like ways you can differentiate class even within that, but I do think it blunts a big, like it used to blow my mind imagining Americans just like picking out their outfits every day for school, because it just seems so unfair, because like some kids like do not, and I think it's like, I do think while children are being educated and they're developing, I do think like removing those, like, I think it is like healthy to have them all wear the same thing. So that can't be like yet another way that everyone's just, because it's such a like comparison-y time. And also such a time where kids haven't really developed empathy yet. And like, there's going to be status games being played. And that is just like one way you can, and I also think it does create like kind of a sense of community within a school, because like you walk to the bus stop and you see kids from other schools in other school uniforms, and that kind of like unifies you with your school in a way that is like potentially a little bit healthy. Not to like oversell school uniforms, but like I also just think the thought of having to like pick out an outfit every day, I just can't imagine how many like arguments American children must get in with like their parents and like their school. It just feels like a giant stress that you're adding to parents as well, as opposed to like, you have to wear this every day. So you're going to school. Like that's so much easier for a parent, instead of being like, you can't wear that to school. You know what I mean? I just think it's easier all around. I'm like completely sold on school uniforms.
Yeah, I probably in speech and debate in middle school, I had to debate for school uniforms, and I showed up to the debate wearing like some like tiki shirt or something. It was not a very strong rhetorician like I am now.
You are a strong rhetorician.
But I guess however you shine the light will tell you where the shadow is coming up, because I think like that's all true, and I'd probably err on that side now if I were in charge of a school. But I also, from another perspective, it also gives some kids like a ability to express themselves in a way that like they may not get in other ways, or have like a little sense of control over.
See, but you can still like you could still always like tell things about the, like, even just like, you know, the goth kids or the emo would wear like a certain spiky belt maybe, or like there were still like you still had like some room for like your hairstyle and other things, but it's just kind of, and when you're a kid, like I don't know, it's like it doesn't really matter the size of the thing. You know, we didn't all have to look identical. It wasn't like we were all getting buzz cut in the army. Like we all still could kind of present differently even within that.
Yeah, I could see that. And, you know, there's such a strong like back to school clothes. It's like definitely a very hyper consumeristic thing here, tradition of like you got to get all your new back to school stuff and all your clothes. And I remember being conscious of the fact that we weren't doing that, or that I wasn't doing like experiencing that in the same way. So I could see that.
I bet there's like so many kids that have so much anxiety over like having to pick out an outfit every day from like what they have available to them. So it's like every kid doesn't even have the ability to express themselves within that. I'm so sold on school uniforms. Thank you, Laundry Hyde, who said, an interesting moral question I heard and have no good answer. Is incest a moral act if there is no possibility of pregnancy? What would make it moral/immoral? I'm guessing the question is like if it was like consensual and there was no possibility of pregnancy.
I love that we're just diving directly
just hitting it hard.
In the Hygge.
We are happy to talk about that for $10.
Yeah.
I mean, I think ultimately, like if it's fully consensual and there's no possibility of pregnancy, I guess I don't think it's immoral. It like weirds me out, but like what would make it immoral if like, you know, the immorality is like the unnecessarily causing suffering. So I guess if like a brother and sister were both like fully sold on it, not nice to think about, but that is my what do you guys think?
It's like one of those things, obviously the like not down with the fetishization of like familial relationships as we see in the porn industry. I'm looking at you, where it's like the dynamics of like that's a lot.
Nightmare.
Like if for instance children are growing up with that kind of dynamic, it's usually a sign of something unhealthy going on that's driving them toward that. So I don't want to like be like this is just like good across the board, but then again, like children aren't full agents because they are still learning and are so subjected to the influences and just like forces driving them with oftentimes with like not even enough information to know what might be appropriate or inappropriate, et cetera, et cetera. So all that aside, as adults, if they know that there's no harm of pregnancy, I usually lean on the side of like, it's not my responsibility to say what's moral or immoral, as long as people are genuinely consenting. And
Alina said, I think a lot of the time there are abusive power dynamics in incestuous relationships. I would say that's a big part of the moral issue. And yes, like exactly. I'm speaking in a like hypothetical situation where two people are consenting and there's no abusive
long lost cousins who found out they were cousins after they did their 23andMe and were like, oh shit, we are literally cousins, we're in love, I don't know.
But it's not like, in my mind, like I think you probably need therapy if you're a brother and sister that wants to consensually be incestuous, but I'm like, I don't think it's immoral, it's just like fucked up. You know, which is different, because it's like immorality again is like
immoral, it's just fucked up.
And if it's, you know, it's, I don't know, it's almost like maybe this is a horrific comparison, but like I don't know, it's like self-harm isn't immoral. It's
well, in what ways would it be harming them?
Pardon?
But in what ways would it be harming them, I guess would be the question.
Would what be harming them?
Is
oh no, I'm speaking outside of I'm saying like self-harm generally.
Yeah.
That's not immoral, but it's still something where like you shouldn't do that. You should get help if you want to do that.
But if two people are not like going to be harming somebody else by reproducing, what harm does it inherently cause? Say the power dynamics are not such
Right.
that
Yeah.
person coercing the other.
Which is like, I guess it's like quite it's a stretch to imagine two healthy consenting people. But then even if they're like very mentally unhealthy, if it genuinely is consenting,
yeah, I'm like,
it's not again.
Who am I to say? Like,
I think that is my final line. It's not immoral. It's just fucked up.
I'm not even gonna say fucked up. I'm like, I'd say what would make it fucked up is if there was any line of coercion. I think it would definitely be worth like exploring with somebody who could maybe help you understand that drive. Because I don't want to say, if someone's driven to that, I don't want to be like, that drive is in and of itself immoral. It's like you could maybe like, I think it'd be worth exploring that and understanding where it might come from and how to like. And maybe after doing that, you'd be like, wow, this actually isn't healthy for me, probably. I don't know. It seems like one of those, if someone is in that situation, it's got to be due to factors that are so beyond my ability to like conceptualize right now that I would be really hard to pass a judgment on it.
Yeah.
Such like Gypsy Rose slaying her mother. It's like, who am I to say what?
One of the strengths of family bonds is that unlike sexual and romantic relationships, they don't end or rely on that. Incest breaks that. Also, it's hard to get true consent because of family power dynamics.
That would be really, really tough, it seems like.
Yeah.
Just look at what happened with
but we don't it's not like immoral to be willing to like break a family bond.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Taboo.
It's hard to get true consent. Yeah. Again, but like, yeah, it's just such a hypothetical, isn't it? Saying like if it could be truly consensual.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I don't know. Next question.
Very thoughtful question, Audrey. That's a good question, to be honest. A good philosophical thing to ponder on.
The Game of Thrones, Jaime and what's her name? The brother and sister who fall in love.
Yeah, that was unsettling.
That was quite a way to start a series.
Very tough to see.
Would you get a tattoo of your partner's name? No, because I'm probably not getting any tattoos.
Yeah, tattoos are really painful. I'd never get another one again.
Also, that just seems like a real dangerous idea. You want to believe in the eternity of love, but people change and things happen, and sometimes you have to love people from afar, and getting their name permanently on your body may not be.
Can I tell you a controversial opinion?
Wisest thing. You should get every lover's name, and then it's just like you've got.
Yeah, if you can do it, keep it fair. My controversial opinion is, and I don't think that this nothing is ever true across the board. Do you know what I mean? But I generally think the impulse to get your lover's name tattooed on you, to me, I'm like, surely that comes from like a level of insecurity. I guess some people are just really into tattoos, though. I guess I wear a necklace with a J on it, so maybe, as I'm saying it out loud, maybe I don't think that. Maybe I think it often can be.
What about the like wedding ring tattoo?
Yeah.
I'm like, at least they're serious. At least they're taking the bit.
Yeah, they're all in. I just don't really see. Again, some people are into tattoos and like view them differently than I do. So
it's like part of their personal narrative.
So for them, like getting their name,
mythopoetic symbology.
Yeah, and that to them is like me wearing this necklace. But I don't know. It's like the wanting to like put a name permanently on you. Like if you think you'll be together forever, why would you need to? Like they're permanently on your heart.
What if your lover's name was like Greg, and then you just have like
Willard?
No offense to Greg, it's a beautiful name.
No offense to Greg's or Willards.
You don't see a lot of Greg tattoos.
I feel like you do.
Greg tattoos?
When I imagine like the English geezers that are like covered with this specific style of like 90s tattoos, I could imagine a name like that being.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good night, Alina.
This one is fun because it's one I regularly ask people if you have any recurring themes in your dreams. I love dream lore.
Ooh.
Oh my God, hang on. But first, we're going to respond to a bomb dropped in the chats.
Aww.
Thank you, Lisa. Hey guys, happy 2024. Have a couple TGIF drinks on me.
That is a couple of TGIF drinks.
Aww.
That's really nice and really generous.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know Australian money, but It sounds like a lot.
They have to fight it away from kangaroos and crocodiles and all manner of devious beasts.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
I feel bad for Australians because they must get the same fucking Americans making the same fucking
so
jokes.
So do British people. Do you feel sorry for me?
I do. As one who,
Thank you.
Which shows that oppressors can also have a bit of sympathy in the very act of oppressing.
Yeah.
But that's just reverse oppressism due to the British Kingdom's, history.
Right.
The implications.
Because the implications, yeah. What was the question you read out? Oh, recurring themes in dreams.
Yes.
I suppose trying to think of ones that I've had numerous enough times would be being accused of something you didn't do, or finding out that you did something bad and then being I guess I did do it, but I don't remember doing it, but I guess I should be on the run anyway, just in case. Things of that nature.
Yes.
I have a lot of dreams where I'm trying to where I'm trying to scream an explanation to someone and no words will come out and I'm just fighting to get words out and they can't hear me. I have that a lot.
Damn.
In different forms, either with my mother or just it can be any situation in a dream.
That's one that makes Jung lower his book and
yeah. Very scared of not being heard as a neglected only child.
Well, that's great.
With parents who didn't speak child.
Ooh, found the whole concept off-putting.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that game.
Yeah.
I want to learn from children.
What about you?
I get a couple reoccurring landscapes it's the same place each time.
The shopping mall I grew up around, the mall in Basildon Town Centre, things like that. Random places from childhood, yeah.
I go to a place and I hope when I die I go there. It'd be so cool if as the flame of consciousness is extinguishing, I could just sort of drift off to this place that I often go to in dreams, or I'm always trying to get to in dreams. It's this red rock desert reminds me of home, and this stream that kind of goes through it, and you just get to cruise down the stream merrily. Yeah, very lazy river style through this red rock forest, and I'm red rock forest and canyon-y thing, and I'm just always gunning to get to there. But then occasionally I'll have one where usually around tax season where I'm I must have done something I forgot about.
Yeah.
Where it sucks because it happened years ago where I dreamed not that I killed somebody, but that I remembered that I had killed somebody and that there was a body buried.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing
and that it was surfacing.
I'll never kill anyone in a dream, but I'll have
I have killed somebody in a dream.
Have you?
Oh yeah. It's usually people are attacking and you're just
you had to do it. Self-defense.
Yeah. Lord Voldemort, what would you do in that situation? But then now it kind of will return, where it happened the other night, in fact, where I was I remembered in the dream and I was shit, I can't remember if it was a dream or if I actually buried a body, which is such a dreamy problem to have. You're did I dream or did I actually bury a body? But the anxiety was the same either way. So
isn't it so nice when you realize you're in a dream in some dreams that are bad, or you wake up and you're oh my God, thank fucking God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just nature's way of reminding us that waking reality isn't so terrible sometimes. It could be worse.
It really could, yeah.
We could have lead feet while trying to run away from an army of marshmallow vampires.
Isn't it funny that mine is always voice-based?
That is interesting.
When people talk about the not being able to run away. Have I had that one much? I feel I don't, that's not one that is familiar to me. I'm sure I've had a dream like that, but.
Can I tell you about the one actual symbolic dream I ever had? I've probably told you about it before, but it was in Mormonism, just before my unraveling, where I dreamed that there was
the Bon.
I dreamed that there was a big earthquake along the Wasatch Front, which we were always paranoid about anyway, being in end of days hyper fundamentalist Mormonism mindset. And I was oh my God, it's happening. And I ran outside and looked up, and there was a full moon with 3 rainbows around it. And I was this is a sign. And then I ran into a church, and the church was empty and dark. And I was just And then I picked up a phone and called my friend. I was are you seeing the signs? And then I hung up. And then my brother-in-law had that exact same dream. Except
That
I think
night? Or just
around the same time, his was a fire, I think,
Wow.
not an earthquake, but like the very same thing. Went outside, saw the moon with encircled by light, and then went into a church and called, I think he called his family. And I was like, whoa. Again, Jung would be like,
yeah.
writing this down.
I think there's a lot of stuff in dreams that is like useful. Or
Yeah.
at least just like shows you what your brain and your subconscious is kind of doing.
And now with realizing the ways that the moon and rainbow are so like associated with femininity and with queerness, obviously, and like night magic, I'm like, my subconscious knew a little something.
I love when the subconscious knows something. Thank you to Brooklyn for the super chat. We're happy you're here and we appreciate you.
I'm gonna do a little bathroom break.
Yeah, I need to do a bathroom break too.
Wait, we can't do it at the same time. That's
do we just
so
wrap
rude.
up the stream?
No.
You're gonna leave me here?
Yes.
With these guys? All right, you guys have to all answer a question now. All right, this is a fun one to hear from you. How would you summarize yourself on a dating site in just 3 words? How would I summarize myself on a dating site in just 3 words? All mine are like cheesy. What are like the 3 most defining words you would... Oh, Exmo Theatre Kid. That's a good one. Pronouns. Try me. Genius. Three words on a dating site that you would use to describe yourself. Tanner, I'm waning out here. It's going horribly. He's flushing.
Don't lose faith.
He said don't lose faith.
Show them your mind routine.
It's still a work in progress. If you had to describe yourself in 3 words on a dating site, what would they be?
3 words on a dating site.
And now I'm going to the bathroom.
Flexible, willing, and nimble. Just kidding. I would probably say I wouldn't say anything. I would just do my mime routine and let that speak for myself, and the right one would really be drawn to that. So it's just a very easy sifting process, and I don't have to even talk about it. It's nice. All right, I'm gonna do a little question. Oh, actually, I'll answer this from Brooklyn. Does the word spirituality mean anything to you now? As someone who no longer believes that I have a spirit, I can't really relate to the concept. Yeah, it does. I totally get what you're talking about, and I agree. I'm not like super into metaphysical conceptions of what might happen after death or how this all came to be. I'm very much like about the here and now. And when I talk about spirituality, it's usually along the lines of like the human spirit and more about like what's happening just internally. So like imagination is spiritual to me. It's a dimension, as it were, that I access that is not real, but in which I can observe things and create things and then draw from that unreal space real things. So that is a spiritual process to me. That's why art is like so connected with my spirituality. It's because I'm pulling from this dimension that can, visualize, imagine, create anything, a world of like endless opportunity where everything is existing, not like omnipresently or omnisciently where I can like tell you the sum of all things, but like just in imaginative power, it's just all brewing in there. And so anything relating to that is spiritual to me. The like I was talking about, my personal system of like symbology and narratives that I'm crafting for my life, values that I'm trying to focus on and embody. Yeah, my personal like acts of self-regulation I'd say are spiritual. And interesting thing about art too is it's not just the like internal process, because you need like an input in order to get an output. And when I first started, art used to be such a mystery to me. I would just kind of do it sporadically or in class. And then when I started wanting to do it more consistently, because I'm like, well, I have all this time as a human being, I might as well do something with this impulse to make stuff. But like, I would sit and be like, oh, I have no ideas. I'm sitting here thinking of an idea of something to write, and I'm sitting here standing in front of a blank canvas thinking of what to do. Or, I want to tell a story, but what? Or I want to write a song, but about what? And art kind of drew me back into the world, because what you draw from is the external world. And so much of like what you hear while you're out, or what you see on your walk, or in your trip to the cafe, inspires something and gets these cogs turning, and then that just fertilizes the creative process. So anything that connects me with that, my internal world and my external world, makes me feel like I'm living harmoniously, centered on that golden thread of awareness and loving compassion. Did that answer your question?
That's lovely.
What does spirituality mean to you, Sam?
Oh, haven't we done this one?
Not on this stream, not for our paying customers.
Damn. What does spirituality mean to me? I mean, yeah, I suppose it's the feeling, it's feeling connected to everything, feeling interconnection as like a sort of a real thing. And I suppose spirituality to me is also, I mean, it's stillness. It's that which helps you like go beyond your conditioning and access like higher states, which I would consider like more compassionate states. I think like compassion and spirituality are so linked. Like spirituality to me is like widening your circle of compassion until it includes everything or everyone. Yeah, I guess it, like in terms of on a day-to-day basis, like my sort of spiritual practices are things that like quiet my mind, get me out of like habitual patterns of thinking. I suppose get me like potentially out of like fear states and more into states of love and abundance. Yeah. It's all those things. I guess spirituality is just like whatever you consider to be like connecting to sort of higher truths. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. And also we will give Banksy a treat for Super Chats.
A little blessing on his day.
A little blessing on his day. He never gets treats before dinner. Only when he's on a live stream.
Mushrooms really sort of dissolved the boundary between the sacred and the profane for me, where it's like, whoa, literally tending to my body is like a deeply spiritual act in a way that I don't regularly feel in my normal day-to-day. And I have to be reminded of that occasionally. But
yeah,
it definitely,
so true.
Like, oh my God, when you really take, I really do believe, or at least I have accepted as my understanding, as this is how I understand it as best I can, and I'm just accepting that because I have not seen a more compelling idea that this individual consciousness is ephemeral and the present moment is all we get, and once that light is out, it's out. Which means that every moment it's not out is deeply, deeply, deeply precious. I'm watching this masterpiece of a film of the entire universe at work for this audience of one. And it's a really special thing when you consider like what makes something valuable. It's how rare it is, right? Like that's why gold, one of the reasons besides versatility that gold is so precious is because it's also scarce. It does a lot and it's scarce. And how scarce are each of our lives? Like if this is really it, then would you live your life the same way if you didn't just have eternity to someday I'll become the person I want to be, someday I'll be learning this stuff I want to learn, someday I'll do this. It just takes on so much more personal meaning when you're like, oh, this is it. What am I doing today? How am I like? And I do, like, I think of the end in mind every day. My partner and I, we like cry every day together, just being like, you never know when you'll die, when things are over. And to just like share this moment, just to share this live stream with you makes life meaningful and is part of my spirituality. So thank you for being here.
Yeah. Wait, I saw a comment.
And if that's not the heart of Hygge, what is?
Yeah. Aspen said loving today's sweaters.
Cozy core.
Banksy.
Are you ready for a new quest?
Yeah, we could do a new question.
This one's for you specifically. Can you name one good and one bad thing about the American way of life?
One, I'll start with bad so we can end on good. One bad thing about the American way of life, it's how individualistic it is. It's just like it's narcissistic, and like as part of narcissism is like grandiosity, a need for just like more. I feel like narcissistic is like narcissistic, individualistic, like that's like how I would like sum up what's bad about the American way of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much like there are just so many like levels of consumption in America that are like considered like immoral in the UK, especially like it blows my mind going home to the UK because like being home at Christmas, it's like climate change is so in the national consciousness there. Like everywhere you go, like every business is like telling you what they're trying to do. It's like they're talking about it on the news every night. Like climate change is on everyone's mind, like becoming greener. Like it's such a big, and then it's like you can come back here and like you could just, if you're an alien, you just wouldn't even know anything was going on. You don't see anything about it. You don't, I mean, I guess you like on Instagram, you'll see like the air's getting bad, but it's just like, it's not in this, like there are just ways it's kind of assumed that everyone is stepping up to the plate in the UK to like help the cause of climate change, that we're just like not united in here, or so yeah, it's the individualism. And then one good thing about American culture, did it say culture?
The way of life. So yeah,
I think Americans potentially can be better at like imagining different lives for themselves, ? Or
like prospecting kind of attitude.
Yeah,
they're like,
it's like, I guess there is like there are ways that it can be good to be a bit more individualistic, like to believe that you're allowed to sort of like step out from the crowd, but I don't know if that's like quite how I would define it.
We're very schemy. Love a good scheme, a good hustle.
Yeah, what's good about American culture?
Hi, Banksy.
I don't know. Because it's like everything like good and bad, there's an inverse to everything. I do think Americans can be quite entrepreneurial, which like can be good, or like, you know what I mean? Because it's so individualistic. Yeah, I guess it's just come back to that same idea of like, it's that, yeah, maybe Americans can be a bit more imaginative about what's possible for them.
It's amazing what more is possible given the financial opportunism created by constant military interventions in foreign country to seize cheaper and cheaper assets. It's really nice having that as your economic background.
British people are so much more like, they think about their consumption more, like at every level, and America like just doesn't.
Oh, I'm trying. I've been feeling this more and more. So maybe it's just the wisdom that comes with age, where I'm like, I actually am a bit, what's the word that the boomers always use to describe us? A bit entitled. I think I have been a bit entitled, and I'm owning up to it, because for the vast majority of human history, shit has been really, really, really tough. And like growing up in a world where you have like access to a fucking grocery store is a blessing that should have us on our hands and knees crying with gratitude every goddamn day. And the fact that I throw little tantrums because, oh, my little piece of technology isn't working, or they raised the price $1 on this. Of course, it's to line a CEO's pocket, and I have my criticisms there. But
even just the thought of like needing to like constantly buy new clothes, like even if you are thrifting them, and that is like obviously superior. But like that's another thing. I feel like a lot of people in England will have the same coat for 10 years, but then it's just kind of like that's like people in America are like buying new things more often. Not that British people aren't like over consumers too, because they are, but like
but not to the degree.
It's like
I was feeling that yesterday as I was scrolling Depop. I'm like, how much time have I spent doing this on this real feeling that I have that like I just can't be wearing that stuff anymore. It's like it defines me from a different time, and
which is really like buying into like such an ego. And it's like it is fun to play with ego identity, but at the same time, if it is coming at the cost of like constant consumption, then you have to question that. So it's like a fine line between like wanting to represent yourself a certain way, but then also one of my New Year's resolutions for the year is like just to love the things I have already more, because I do think it's easy to get in the mindset of like what's the next thing that's going to make me feel fabulous or whatever. But it's like, what about all the stuff you have that you're so lucky to have that like if you got it new you would love?
Yes.
And I just think there is something to be said. Even just going home to England and like nobody, it's really a financial thing for most people, but nobody can afford to keep their homes very warm in the winter. Like their homes will be like in the 60s, right? Which like can feel jarring when you're used to being in like in the 70s.
In a cold humidity. Kill me.
But really, when you think about it, and it's just because heating prices are so expensive there. Like even my mum said it would be like £250 a month for her to keep her house as warm as I keep mine for like 50 a month, you know? Maybe that's just because of America and the fossil fuels. I don't know what that
We're
that is.
We're just burning trash and
I just think you
gas.
guys don't care. You're just like, fuck, mine everything. Like, we'll give them cheap.
You're living in the heart of Rio Tinto Valley. We're breathing it. We don't care.
But anyway, it's like easy to be like, oh, 60s, that's like fucking freezing. But then like think about the fact that like we all, you know, like came from nature, and like to be able to like have a shelter that you can be in the 60s in the winter is a real luxury. And it's like, you have to put on like a few more layers, but it's like you're still in the like you're fine. Do you know what I mean? And I think that was like that, and so that made it on another one of my like, it was more my ins and outs list, which is almost like smaller than New Year's resolutions. But I think like turning the heating down a bit and just putting in another sweater, because how many times I'll like turn the heating up 1 or 2 degrees rather than put on another layer, and it's like that's fossil fuel consumption that like it's easy to not even think about. But it's like English people are more trained in the mindset of like, if there is something I can like sacrifice first, which wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Which means they're brainwashed. They want to brainwash you to be peasants. They want you to live like peasants, cold and weary in your cottage. I can hear Jordan Peterson and Alex Jones coming through in that one.
Yeah. But it's like everyone's trying to eat more plant-based. But then it makes me sad because I'm like, you guys are so small and you don't even know how bad it is in America. Like they all kind of assume that this is sort of like how it is, but I'm like, you have no idea how bad it is in America in terms of like people don't give a shit, and even when people do give a shit, the systems are not even in place to like help them give a shit. Because that's the thing, like where my mum lives, it is now required by the council to compost. Like you have to put your food. Yeah. Whoa. My mum's like kind of like, she's like a bit annoyed about it, but like the council like gives you a compost bin.
The council has spoken.
And I'm like, that's like such a good use of government, like requiring like that is what we need to do to create a habitable planet. Like it's not like, you know, Americans might see it as like the government imposing on you, but it's really just like, this is a sensible part of us building a livable society for all of us, which we all want, you know, we all want to live in a livable society. So they have to compost. You have to like recycle. Like if you can get fined for like if you just toss everything in the wrong thing. I don't think they're not like going through the bins, but it's like if you are clearly like, you know, throwing away recycling, you could get a fine. So there's all the structures are in place to like when people care about the environment, which they tend to, it's easier for them. Like, and whereas like here, I feel like we just live with this like constant low level guilt because you're like, I really do care, but it feels like what I'm able to do is so limited. Like I eat vegan because I hear that is like so much better for like not wasting resources, and like I try and recycle, but I have no faith that I don't think much stuff in America really like goes to anything recycling wise. Like recycling is mostly a scam in this state, especially.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's like you are, and you know, you try and thrift and all that, but like at the end of the day, you still are at the mercy of the like city you live in and what people care about.
Culture.
And like people, like not everyone is a leader. This is the thing. It's like as much as like I believe in people having autonomy and stuff, and I you know, I don't believe in the government like, you know, like really forcing people to be. I think the composting thing is good, but like, yeah, not everyone. Like a lot of people are just going to fall in line with like sort of what's happening around them, and it's like, oh, the council's telling us we should do this. Okay, we'll do it. It's like everyone isn't. But I feel like in America, because America almost has this like childlike, like you're not the boss of me identity nationally. Like that's still like this developmental stage that the country is in psychically.
Totally.
It's like any suggestion, even if it's something that would like benefit them and the area they live in, they just can't hear it. It's just that everything is an existential threat or crisis.
And they're the exact like tantrumy. We are the tantruming child that not only refuses to hear it, but is like, I will go the opposite. If you tell me that we need to save the environment, it's like, no, I will delight in running my big old truck as much as I've literally seen it. I had a professor who was like,
you're not the boss of me.
He was like, save the rainforest. Let's go pave the rainforest. We don't give a he just like was like, no, we should cut that all down. And I'm like,
it makes so much more sense when you realize like that is a developmental stage of an adolescent.
Yes.
And America is an adolescent country.
We are in it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So it was a really long.
We're the teenager wielding the gun, walking into the world, holding the rest of the world hostage. We're also handing out other guns, don't you?
I will say this as well, because someone mentioned it in the comment. America is very transactional. There's like a price tag on everything, and I sense that as well. Like again, the lack of the like the there's more collectivist. Collectivism is like it's a mindset and like an energy as much as it is like a policy thing, and you can like sense it in England in a way that you can't here. Yeah.
If you could see into the future, how far ahead would you want to see?
Show me nothing. I don't want to know.
Yeah. I've seen enough movies to know that's not a good idea.
Exactly. I'm not falling for that one.
Okay, so I think most people, you know, there's the old trope of if you see the future and you don't like it, you'll try to avoid it. This is Greek myth, right? And in the trying to avoid your fate, you create your fate. But then we learn from the Matrix that there's a difference between knowing the path and walking it, and perhaps all futures exist simultaneously, and all you did was gaze into a future that exists given the trajectory that you're currently on, and that awareness will allow you to change the path that you're on. I just wouldn't mess with fate. I'm a surprise me kind of guy.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, everything's so much when like something really scary happens, it's always a surprise, and that makes it more bearable. Like when the earthquake happened, if I had time to be like, there's going to be a 5.5 earthquake in a week, I would have had a hellish week. But when disaster is sprung upon you, it's different. Yeah. Like you just rise to it in the moment, and you don't really have time to be like afraid in a way.
I feel like joy is kind of that too. Like some of the like really profound moments of my life were accompanied with a sense of surprise and awe of like, whoa, I didn't know this was in store for me. And the fact that I didn't know it and that it just happened felt so just like graceful and beautiful of like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. What a pure delight.
Yeah. Whereas like, it's so easy to look forward to like a specific thing and imagine how happy you'll be when you're like on that vacation, or it's like the holiday or whatever. And then like disappointment like can easily happen when you, because of the like expectation of a certain amount of dopamine, and then.
Yep. How about you guys? How far are you peering?
Rebecca said I might be down to see 200 years in the future. Then it wouldn't actually be my future.
Okay, yeah, that would.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would have to, if I did, it would be like really far into the future, to where it wouldn't necessarily say much about what my life was gonna be like.
Yeah, Rebecca wins.
Gaby or Gabby said, I always have a consumerism culture shock when convos with my spouse from Mongolia go like this. Hey, want new socks? And he goes, the ones I have are fine. No holes, so I'm good. Yeah, I like that mindset.
Yep. I think that hopefully we see a shifting of values in our culture toward old things. So I do like the like secondhand
which we are
value.
seeing.
It's like we've made enough things.
Yeah.
We can now have new levels of creativity using things that have already been created.
WineMomJared.com.
I was just going
to plug. He's about to drop the sickest quilt coat. I wonder if you would want to come and show it. Maybe not.
Is Jared around?
Jared! You might not want to come.
Okay. Yeah, that and then
Jared
things that are built to last and investing in, because that's a lot of what I have has just been from being like so financially scarce for my whole life. Okay, this thing or this clothes, this will do. I've had some stuff that I like, don't get me wrong, but being like, I'm at a point where like, you know, I don't have to wear shoes that, you know, snow boots that curl my toes in and give me blisters every time I wear them just because they're the ones I have. I'm like getting rid of it. I deserve to like, and can now, thanks to our generous patronage, like invest in some shoes that just like fit, that will last a long time, so that I don't have to constantly be like, oh, I'm buying this thing because it only costs $2, but it'll only last 2 days. You know.
So. That's what sucks about poverty is like you have to like buy in ways that are ultimately more expensive to you or more wasteful. It's like how if you can buy in bulk, you like save a lot of money.
But I again like never want to feel entitled to that thing, because again it's like even just being able to like get some snow boots is incredible.
From Walmart is like a huge
I was eating at a buffet yesterday, a local Indian buffet, and like just kind of set aside my first plate, and then I like looked at it and I was like, oh my god, I still like left some food around, and I was like, what kind of like fucked up blessed animal am I that like I don't even think about wasting food. That is, and then so I was like, oh my god, every like really like things could turn so quickly for us. We it's because we grew up with it. We do feel entitled to so much comfort and so much ease, so much relative abundance, even in like the sense of scarcity in comparison to other people. That's what I'm trying to do is like I need to stop comparison and assuming that I need like certain something to feel okay. Like I really am trying to get back to like how do I make my inside okay? And you know, that's a balance that will play out forever in our lives, especially we who have grown up in the West. To like we just have to like make peace with our consumerism and figure out how to best manage it, because it's deep in there, and we all have to eat to live and wear clothes and all that shit. So we have to get around in drivable car-based cities. Like, what do? Let's just do the best we can and try to have grace for other people and grace for ourselves. I'm hopefully trying to get out of the like the comparison Olympics of 100%. Everyone who does slightly less about climate change or about this issue doesn't really care, and fuck you for not being on board. Meanwhile, I am doing all that a human being could possibly be expected to do. You know, just like, okay, how do I?
I think you just have to come at it from a place of like, also, if the stream cuts out at some point, my laptop's died. I can't plug this one into the charger that's closest to it without it flipping the breaker.
And that's just life. It's always ending in the middle.
We got a super chat from Dawn. Thank you so much, Dawn. She said, so much good stuff in this stream. Thank you for sharing some time with us. Thank you so much. I feel like the second part of this stream, I like this conversation about consumption. And I think it is good to reflect on your consumption at the start of a new year. I mean, it's as good a time as any. And I mean, even everything that's happening in Palestine, it's like the blessing to just fall asleep not in a war zone, or to basically know that your family members will all wake up tomorrow is so huge. And like, I don't know.
Before October 7th, Palestine was already rated by the UN as the most dangerous place for children.
It's like, it is incomprehensible. Like, it is like difficult to like imagine in any kind of real, it just feels like a movie. Because we've never experienced, we're so lucky to have never like lived through a war that has touched, I guess America like had 9/11 and England had the 7/7 bombings, but like
in
never been in a war
the
zone.
time span since October 7th, Palestine has already had like 3 9/11s of just children. For a little context of just numbers comparison there. It is, and I think we as people who are growing up and being acquainted with like the internet, and all of a sudden we have like insight into really what's going on in the world rather than just the like corporate propaganda media that we're used to. And yes, I'll say that, where we're actually seeing this up close, and the traditional like lines that have defended this ethic that says it's okay to just blow people up because someone in their neighborhood did something wrong.
Yeah.
Like, and we're just like, no, we as human beings can't do that. There's definitely a resistance to like look away and be like, oh, that just seems like a lot to deal with. But I think we're all learning how to like better engage and to like actually grieve and learn how to grieve individually and collectively. And then I think that does fuel an intense amount of gratitude. It has for me of just being like, oh my God, shit really is so much worse for so many people on this planet. And it sometimes makes me feel guilty when I am just like having a bad day and I'm like, oh, no, you're so hard. And, we can all gripe and have our own little struggles and things, but really like,
like if
it is grim out there.
I always think about like if I lost one of the most important people, like if I lost you or Jared or something, or like had terminal cancer or any of those like really like big things that can happen in life, you would give anything to have just like your shittest day now would be like a dream, and you would like soak in every second of that feeling. Like if your partner died, like you would never have a one moment with them again. Like that, like I think about that like every single day.
I do.
And how much I would kill for just like a hug, or like sometimes I have dreams of my grandma where I get to talk to her and I'm like, it's like they used to be worse, but it's like so painful to know that like I actually never will like talk to her again. Which, and like she was older, so that's like not even as bad. Do you know what I mean? There's just gratitude. You just have to remind yourself every single day that bad things can happen, not to scare yourself, but to be like, this is like, these are the ways of the world that we live in, and everyone is going to die. And it does. I do think it can help have some perspective.
Catch me at the party being like, we're all going to die one day. You could be dead tomorrow. Let's hug it out.
Everyone make out with me.
Wouldn't you be so full of regret if we didn't smooch?
I have to wrap up this live stream, so I've got to go to a
Let's do it. I'm getting hungry.
Dinner.
A business dinner.
It was Jared's business, and Ash just said they're here.
Oh yay!
So are you two gonna?
We're gonna hop on out of here.
We can't hang out. Okay.
Yeah.
Even though I would love to hang out.
Love you guys.
This has
been such a nice little live stream. Such a fun.
Thank you to everyone who contributed to the channel. Even though Tana may get health insurance this year, we still are not like financially abundant the way that. Well, I guess I would like to be, or kind of do need to become. So we really appreciate, like all the support, and we are still at the stage of growth where I feel like every dollar does make a difference. You know what I mean? Like if we get $50 extra that month, you're like, oof, I can like breathe slightly easier. So just know that, we really appreciate you. And if you can't donate, we appreciate you being here and just being here to talk about all these things with us. Let's all have a grateful little night where we appreciate our loved ones and pet our pets.
All right.
And go watch our tennis shoes video. It's really good.
Yeah.
And then join us on Patreon so you can read the rest with us. Okay, love you.
Love y'all.
Bye.
Have a good weekend. Bye.